Hey everyone, it's Mike here, and it's time to start a new playthrough series. And we are going to start with some Atlanta is Ours of the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War series. Just a little bit of background here. I am certainly not an expert. I have been playing this series off and on for about a year via email with a longtime gaming buddy of mine, but I am certainly not an expert. I've never played a campaign. I've really only played a couple of scenarios. Well, I am playing a campaign right now, but mostly just the scenarios. So I have Roads to Gettysburg, Atlanta's Ours, and Battle Above the Clouds. I just received Battle Above the Clouds on a trade, and I'm going to do an unboxing video of that pretty soon. But for today, I figured we would start with the learning scenario of Atlanta is Ours and go through it. It's pretty short, so I'll probably actually play it twice. So the first time I'll go a little bit slower. Maybe this is the first time coming to the system. Maybe not. So we'll go slow the first time, and then we'll kind of pick it up for the second time. For what it's worth, I've enjoyed learning the system. I think it is a fun system. I don't think it's overly complex, at least the scenarios. Certainly some of the campaign game rules can be, I don't know if complex is the right word, there's just a lot of them. But it's a lot of fun. The map is beautiful. It's very evocative, and the system itself, you pick it up pretty easily. That being said, I'll probably make a couple of mistakes here and there. In any case, let me get to the credits before I go on. So this is Atlanta is Ours, game design and development. Ed Beach, I'm pretty sure that's the same Ed Beach that did Here I Stand. Mike Bells, Chris Withers, series game designer Joe Balkowski. I know he's designed a lot of games, and not just in this series, but other ones as well. I think Compass Games has a reprint of his Korean War game that's coming soon. Maps by Charles Kibler and Nicholas Escooby, and rules layout Nick Richardson. So a lot of the MMP hands in this one here. So let's get started. So the first thing I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about this scenario. So the scenario is called The Opportunity of a Lifetime. It's recommended for a person's first game as a teaching scenario or a solitaire scenario. So I'll read from the book here. This scenario covers McPherson's advance through Snake Creek Gap on May 9th to Resaca. His goal was to cut off Johnston's army, which was in Dalton to the north from Atlanta. Concerned about being cut off himself by Confederates moving south, McPherson lost, quote, the opportunity of a lifetime, and called off his attack on Resaca and retreated back to Sugar Valley. That was Sherman's words to McPherson a couple days later, when they learned that the opportunity is lost. So it's a one-turn scenario, and if you look on the map, you can see these bluish and reddish hexes. That is to let us know the playing area that we have. So the play area, we may not move into any of the blue hexes, and specifically the Union cannot move into these red row hexes. So if we're going to take Resaca, we can do it from 2112 and 2212, which means we're going to be attacking across a creek. so that's a pretty negative modifier. Additionally, we cannot enter hex 1413, so we cannot go this way. We're going to have to go through the gap and then up past Sugar Valley towards Resaca. And there's not much in our way. There's just a single cav division. So let's get started, and I will just go over the counters just a little bit so we know what we're looking at, and then we'll go through our first couple of combats together. So if we look, and I'm going to bring it in even a little bit closer. Unfortunately, when you get, that might be a little too close. When you get much closer than that, the image kind of distorts, but I do want you to be able to see the information. So let's look at this Confederate cavalry division. So the white stripe under the unit name means that it's exhausted. So units that exhausted that activate for certain actions may be required to make what's called an extended march. So I am getting ahead of myself. What are some of the actions we can do? Well, we can march. We can assault. Those are the two big ones. There are other actions that are related to, like burning bridges and railroads. But the other big action is activating a leader. And a leader gives cool bonuses to its subordinates and building entrenchments. So in the 1864 game, you can do a lot with entrenchments. So this is 1864. So that's important to know. So what are the values, right? So there are 3 values, because this module uses the integrated counters. So if you go to some of the other modules, they'll have stacks. So the leftmost number is manpower, right? And manpower is important, so it's one of our modifiers in combat. Moving to the middle number, we see in a red box the tactical rating. And tactical rating, if you do a combat, you do a comparison, and the side with the highest tactical rating gets the difference in a modifier. And the rightmost number is artillery. And again, you find the difference of the artillery, and then you consult the artillery table to find out if another modifier is given. And that's basically, again, there are some other things that are important, like the color of the unit. So in the counters in the game, this is separated by boxes around the numbers, but I'm noticing in this module they're all red. So the red units here are, and I'm going to consult the magazine. It's a very nice magazine. The Army of the Tennessee, right? So they're red. And the other ones here, the green ones, Dodge is a green leader, are members of the Army of the Ohio. Yes. So let's begin. So the core of the game is the action cycle. So the action cycle, both sides roll a die, and whoever has the higher gets to choose to do an action or pass. So the convention that I like to use is CSA, USA. And the easiest way for me to remember that is the C comes first. So we roll 2 dice, and we get 1, 5. So in this case, the USA has the first action. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to move this just so we can see, I am going to activate Sweeney. So the first thing I'm going to do is fatigue him. And if you see down in the left-hand corner, he now has a green slash. We increase them second time, yellow, orange, and then finally red. So that there are 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So activating him once will bring him to fatigue level 1. So he's also exhausted. And I should say that we are using dodge to activate him, so he'll get a bonus. So if we go to our tables and we look at our movement, we can see that if I were to activate Sweeney alone, he would only get to roll 1d6. But since I'm using the leader to activate him, he gets 1d6 plus 1, which is pretty cool. So the first thing we'll do is we'll roll for his movement. So he gets a big 6. So 6, following along in the example, plus 1 is 7. So with a 7, he activates. So Grigsby immediately is in danger. Okay, so let's go through, let's just do the pretend fight here. So if we're following along, Sweeney has 9 manpower to 1. So a 9 to 1 modifier for ratio. 2 tactical to 1, so a plus 1 there. And then 2 artillery to 0. If we hide the terrain and we look, we can see that there's this like green flocked terrain. Well, what kind of terrain is that? Well, that's rough. So rough, we can see, is unfavorable terrain for artillery. So let's go to our modifiers. So if we look, they're in rough terrain, and what do we have? Excuse me. All right, so they have a 0, so we have a plus 2. So a plus 2 is no effect, so we can discount everything for our artillery. If we look at our ratio, 9 to 1 is plus 8. And let's say we do, there's a chart here. If you attack on the march, depending on how many movement points you spend, determines how many, what your modifier is, right? So if we spend 0, we get a minus 3. So we would have a minus 3, so we don't have to spend any of our movement points. Minus 3, plus 1 for tactical, so minus 2, plus 8 for ratio, which would bring us to plus 6. So you're looking at a pretty big beatdown. So here's the combat chart. Here's how it works. So you roll the attacker's die minus the defender's die. So what we have here is plus 6. So let's just throw the dice. And again, USA, CSA. So 6, 6. So we add the modifiers 12, subtract, so we have a plus 6. So what we would do is we would go, say the defender's combat value is 1, and we look on the plus 6, they take a 1 DR. So they take 1 manpower loss, which would eliminate the unit. Okay. And if we go over here to the attacker, we see that a plus 6 means they just get to advance. So we obliterate this unit at the cost of nothing to the Union. And it makes sense. You have an entire formation of infantry going up against a small unit of cavalry. So, fortunately, cavalry are imbued with the option to do a cavalry retreat. So that's definitely what we're going to do, because at minimal risk to ourselves, there's a chance that we can eat up some of that movement points, and they are currently at 7 movement points. So if you have your rules, cavalry retreats is 7.7, and it's a pretty straightforward process. So first thing you do is the CSA will roll a die, and I'm just going to write out here that we have 7MP. Alright, so the Confederacy rolls a die. So they get a 4. So what do? This roll may be modified. Okay, so what are our modifiers? Terrain. So are we in a spot where we would get a positive die roll in combat? No. Are we a very large force? No. Are we a large force? No. Are we a large force? No. Are we Are we demoralized? No. Are we fatigued? No. Ammunition doesn't apply. Are we a small force? Well, we're at strength 1 or less, so we subtract 2 from the 4, so our die value is 2, and then that number is halved to 1. So that reduces our allowance, Sweeney's allowance, to 1. And then we have to retreat. So we have to retreat 4 to 6 hexes. So now we toggle over to our retreat chart. Okay. And we have 2 charts. So we're going to look on chart 1. It says a player must use retreat chart 1 in the following circumstances. For the first hex entered in a normal retreat, this is not a normal retreat, this is a cav retreat. For each of the first 4 hexes entered in a route or cavalry retreat. Okay, so that's important. That's what we're doing. So our first 4 hexes, we can go up to 6, have to follow this priority. So priority number 1, retreat follows road, pike, or trail or railroad into a hex more distant from active enemy unit than retreated out of. That hex is neither in an enemy ZOC nor enemy occupied. And we can hit that. And we're still hitting that mark here. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, here are 3 options, right? Well, we still have retreat priority 1. So we have to go into a hex that is more distant than the one we're leaving. So we can't go up, because that's going to keep us at the same spot. So we can go either here or here. So we are going to go here. Now, for the 5th and 6th option, our priority 1 is not into an enemy ZOC or enemy occupied hex. Okay? So, let's see where we might want to go. So we could go 5, 6. We can go 5, 6. If we go to here for 4, we can go 5, 6, or 5, 6. If we go here, we're setting ourselves up to be annihilated because the Union has to come this way. But if we stick right there, they're going to land in our zone of control, and they'll either need to attack or stop. So this is a good place. However, we do know that Sweeney is still going to have 6 movement points. So maybe we should back up to 6 regardless. It's an interesting question. All right. Yeah, let's leave it there. No, I'm just kidding. Let's put it here. So also as part of the cavalry retreat, we increase its fatigue level by 1 and we flip to its disorganized side. And that red number means it's disorganized. So there are two it's basically 1/2. Okay. So now we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So now we'll roll for initiative again. That was all our first initiative. Pretty cool, huh? All right. So the CSA is up first. Well, let's go to our Confederates here. So let's see if I can pull out markers. Okay. I'm looking for I was actually looking to see if they have the entrenchment markers someplace. All right. I could have sworn I've been looking at a couple of different modules. I could have sworn they were in here somewhere. All right. It is on the back of yeah. It is on the back of your rule book if you don't have it somewhere else. So if we go back to Resaca, Resaca is in a rolling hex. They also have redoubts, which is this brownish terrain in here, which is not applicable because they have forts. So the different forts and entrenchments give combat bonuses. So since this is an 1864 module, you can, as a action, build a fort. Okay. So all you have to do is fatigue it once and increase the level. So really, we're in Resaca. We don't want to empty out Resaca, so we're just gonna entrench up. So that Georgian regiment is already in a fort, but Canty is in breastworks. Okay. So, since they are already in a breastworks, we are going to place a fort marker on top of it. So, because of the 1864 special rules regarding entrenchments, I may have gone too far. Yeah. So we bump it up one level. So they have a breastworks marker. So we go to the fort one side. Okay. And then we fatigue it once. And then we roll for initiative. It's Confederates again, so we will do the same thing and we will bump up the entrenchment again. Initiative. Alright, it is tied. In this game, low ties go to the Union. So we'll move our cav back. And we will activate dodge as a leader. Now here's an important thing that I didn't talk about, right? Command radius. So command radius is 3 in this module. So dodge cannot activate Sweeney. He's out of range. So he can only activate Beach. So let's roll and let's hope for something high. We get a 6 again. That's pretty good. So we'll take him, and we're going to take McPherson and dodge with us. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Now, we have much the same situation as before. It's actually much worse now, since their combat strength is only half, and ours is 10, we're looking at a 20-to-1. So we're looking at an absolute massacre of this unit. So we don't want that. So we're going to fatigue it again. We're going to roll a die. So that's 6, minus 2 is 4, which is going to finish off this unit. It's going to eat up the last of their movement points. And now we have to retreat 4. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably the best place to go, because we might be able to stick them in Resaca. Alright. So now initiative again. Alright, Union wins low ties, so once again it is the Union. Alright, so we're going to try and get Dodge's core into position. So Dodge is going to activate both of them. So first we'll roll a die. So we're going to get 3. Now, since they are exhausted and they're moving to 2, they both have to make rolls for on the extended march table. So let's just take a look at it. Okay. Alright, so when to consult the extended march table, if a unit on its exhausted side reaches fatigue level 2. Alright, so let's roll a die first for Sweeney. So we rolled a 3. Right, so let's take a look. What is our strength marker? Is it organized or disorganized? Well, we can tell because it's black, it's organized. So we want to have a modified roll of 5 or less. That's no effect, right? So modifiers. Normal side moving from 3 to 4? No. Unit moving on an exhausted side from 2 to 3? No. We're moving from 1 to 2. Nope. And not moving by wagon train. So Union Army modifiers, right? We're not late or early war cavalry. And we're not a garrison unit. So we get a normal Union +1. That's a spot where you start to identify comparative strengths and weaknesses between the Union and Confederate armies. Game-specific modifiers. There's no heat event. There's no out of supply. We're not in 1861. So we just get a 4. So they're good. Before I go too much further and forget, I'm going to say I have 3 MP. And then we're going to roll for Veach. So Veach, unfortunately, rolls a 5, which is going to be modified to a 6. So they are disorganized. Well, what happens when you're disorganized? Unfortunately, you lose 3 combat strength. But it's not the end of the day. So we can go there, which is good, but we cannot go here because of the scenario restrictions. And I am going to move Dodge there. Technically, that's supposed to happen before you move, but it's not a huge deal. All right, then we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So hopefully, I can get Veach there. We go to next initiative, and it is the USA once again. All right. So let's go. I'm going to have Dodge activate Veach. All right, so that's 3, 1, 2. Before we do that, though, let's roll on the EM table. So we get a 3. All right, so we're disorganized, right? And our manpower is 10 or greater. So this is an important distinction. Because when units are disorganized, they have a combat value. And units have a manpower and a combat value. Units that are organized, it is the same, so it's represented by a single number. When it is reduced, the combat number is the reduced number, right? And the manpower number is still whatever it was. So our manpower is 10, but we're fighting with a strength of 7. So let's just say that comparatively, since they're disorganized, they're fighting at 70% capacity, right? So we rolled a 3, right? And we're moving from fatigue 2 to 3. So that's +1. And we're Union. That's another +1. So that's 5. So we are no effect. Otherwise, we were going to run into a manpower loss. But that will bring us into this hex, so we can put Dodge there, and we can put McPherson there, and Veach is going to be fatigue level 3. So we're getting set up to attack Resaca. All right, CSA. So CSA, we're going to finish our fort. That's our priority 1. All right, USA again. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Logan to activate Osterhaus only. So he goes 1, 2. Not good. But by only activating Logan, Osterhaus via Logan, if I had gotten 2 with all of them, we wouldn't have been able to go really anywhere. There's one other thing that I need to mention, is that if you are moving through a hex with certain manpower already in it, there's an added movement point cost, which, would reflect congestion of troops moving along a single road. So initiative roll again. CSA. So let's move the Cav in, and Cav roll 2 dice. That's their movement allowance. We're only going to move in 1. So now we have this big stack, and it's up to the Union to try and clear them out. So let's go back to Logan, and we'll go Osterhaus only. And again, 1, 2, 3. All right. So let's go Logan or initiative USA. So let's go Logan, and we will activate ML Smith only. Man. We're going to take Logan. Now Logan's in command range of all 3 of them. Alright, so now Logan's going to activate the whole darn thing. So 2. So 1, 2, 3. Now. Osterhaus will make an extended march roll. And they're going to be good. Smith will go 1, 2, 3. Harrow will go 1, 2, 3. Initiative. CSA. CSA will pass. So then Logan. And fortunately, let's go ML Smith and Harrow. 2. 1, 2. One thing I didn't do that we could consider, probably should have considered, is something called a force march. And I'm just looking for my tables here. So where are you? Maybe it's only in the rules. Yeah. So if we disorganize the unit, we roll a die and subtract 1 and get that many extra manpower at the cost of reduced manpower. All right, so let's go again here, and we'll go Logan activating Osterhaus. So now we get 6. All right. So we're going to move up to fatigue 4. So first we'll do our EM roll, and we're going to be good there. So we go 1, 2. And, well, let's do an attack, because that's all we're going to be able to do with him. All right. So we have 3 multiplied by 3 for the fort, 9, 18.5 to 8. So that's 3 to 1. All right, it is rolling. So it's a -2. So we are at, well, I should say 1 to 3. So we're at -4. We have enough MP to do a prepared attack. So that's +1. So we're looking at -3. So this is a very, very low odds attack. So let's give it a roll. Again, CSA USA. -3. Okay. So it's Confederates +1. So Confederates +1. So we are going to look at 6. Oh, I forgot the creek. So it's Confederates +4. Or 2. Right? Yeah, Confederates +2. So we apply all of the defenders' results first. So they are going to be fatigue. So each of them gains a single fatigue, which means 2 out of their 3 units are going to be done. And then over here, we are 2D, which means that we lose 2 manpower and we are disorganized. So that's a really bad result for them. Alright, so initiative. CSA passes. We'll go Logan, activating Emil Smith, and Harrow. So we get 5. So we'll do our extended march roll, and that's 5. And that is not going to be good. So +1, 6, 7. So they are going to be disorganized. And they have 5 MP. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. And here we'll go and we'll make our EM roll. This one's disorganized too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not gonna get there. USA, so we'll do Logan. The only one left is Harrow. So Harrow will make their EM roll. So it's a 6. Modifiers are +2 is 8. And that will lose us 2 manpower. That's not going to put us in a good spot. We can do an attack, but this time, instead of -4, it's going to be -5. Because now we're at 1 to 4. Okay. So yeah, let's just say that that's not going to work. I will roll it. Yeah. 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 Alright, so we have one last chance to take Resaca, basically. We are going to do an assault. So in an assault, we bump up our fatigue levels for these 2 units. As a result of an assault, an extended march is not triggered. So this will let multiple units attack at the same time, if it works. So the first thing we do is we look at Dodge, and his tactical rating is 3, which is pretty good. It's going to be higher than these guys's, and his his command rating is 6. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll a die and compare it to a 6. We'll subtract it from a 6. 1. Great news. So what that means is that is the number of units, in this case 5, that can participate in the attack. So we can activate both Sweeney and Veach. So that's 16. Okay? Now, since we have McPherson there, we could do a grand assault, right? And I think I forgot to bump up Harrow. Basically, in a grand assault, you can only activate your subordinates, and you can only do those that are in the same hex as you. McPherson would let us add some of Logan's warriors as well. But in any case, we're going to go it alone with Dodge. So let's just go through the process here. So our number is 5, so we can have up to 5 units, right? We only have 2, so that's fine. So now we just do a regular kind of attack here. So again, our combat value is 16, so we have 9 for Sweeney and 7 for Veach since he's disorganized. 16, and again, we're going up against 19. So since we're going up against 19, it is going to be 1 to 2, which is not great, but it's better than 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. So 1 to 2 is a -1. We have a +1 for the assault action, so that's good. Next, we'll look at artillery. So we have 5 to their 9. So that's -4 or less. Let me double check. Entrenchments, gotta just make sure that they combat multiply artillery and yeah. So they multiply both the combat strength and the artillery strength. Okay. So yeah. So it is a staggering 9. So that'll give them a -2. So we are looking at -2 total so far. -3 for the Creek, and then our tactical rating is 3, and theirs is 2, so a +1 for that. So let's just run through it one last time. 1 to 2 odds is -1. -2 for artillery is -3. -1 for the Creek is 4. -4, +1 for tactical, and +1 for assault. So that's -2. So USA, CSA. All right. So that is a Confederate +1. So -1. Again, that's not gonna shake them out of there. We need a +2 result. So -1, 1D. That is going to end our efforts in this scenario, because that is going to fatigue our units. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. All right. So that's a pretty good look at this scenario. And these smaller scenarios are going to be, especially like one-turn scenarios, they're going to be very dice dependent. So if that is kind of a turn-off to you, then, you know, that's something to consider. But, you know, this scenario, and I'll do it again right now, is so quick that, you know, you can play it through a couple times, like in a single night. So, you know, but it's definitely a good amount of fun. So I'm going to pause the video here and we're going to set it up again and we're going to do it one more time. And we're back. So here we go again. So we start with initiative. So the CSA wins initiative. So now, in this case, do we want to retreat the Cav first? And the answer is going to be no. I think it's happy there because we want to use it to kind of slow down the Union. So we'll roll again. And here we go, the Union. So let's start with Sweeney. And Sweeney will be activated by Dodge. And we'll roll for movement. So I think it's a 3 modified to 4. Grigsby will do the Cav retreat. So we'll roll the dice there. And 1. Now this is interesting because if you roll a 1, it's not going to reduce the units. It's just not going to reduce its movement allowance. Because the -2 would make it negative. That divided by 2, rounded to the next whole number, is going to be 0. Also, since it rolled a 1, it's going to lose a single manpower, which means it's going to be eliminated. So, fortunes of war, for sure. So I'm going to stick them just off map there. Alright, so now we can go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, initiative roll. So it's the USA again. So now we're going to move Veach. So we'll roll Veach, who's being activated by Dodge. So we get 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what I talked about before. If you look, the cost to enter a friendly occupied hex with a combined combat value of between 3 to 11 is +1 movement point. So 6. We've got them all as a nice stack there now. Alright, CSA. So again, we'll bump this up. Now, let's see. Union. So the union says, let's do dodge. Dodge will activate both. So we go 4. Alright, so we'll do our EMs. We'll go Veach and Sweeney. Sweeney is going to get a modified 6, so they will be disorganized. Then we'll go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Veach can get to there. We'll stick. Actually, we'll do it the other way around. All right, initiative. So it's tied. Confederates win high ties, and in this scenario, the Confederates get to bring out a reinforcement. So we can bring out Reynolds with 1 extra strength point, or we can bring out Hood. So let's bring out Hood, because he is going to negate Dodge's tactical advantage. All right. So then the Confederates will complete their entrenchment. Okay, Confederates again. They will pass. We'll go to the Union. And the Union, let's activate Logan. We'll activate the whole corps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Union again. We'll go Logan again for the full corps. This time we get to go 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. CSA will pass. So Logan, again, we'll go the whole gang. So 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since they are all moving to 3, they will all need to take EM rolls. So let's just go top to bottom. So 5, 1, and 2. So ML Smith will be disorganized, but the other two make it through okay. All right, Union, and Union will bring up Sweeney. Sweeney will roll. So Sweeney has a +2, so they are a 5. So they are all here. So we have all of our Union troops set up here. Veach got there on initiative 2. Everyone else is on initiative 3. So we have a decent chance to take a crack at it. We've got a good chance. Okay. So here we go. Confederates win the tie again. So now they get to bring in Reynolds. And Reynolds is already at fatigue 2. We'll bump him. Oh, actually, I think per scenario special rule, that's the entire. All you get to do is place him there. Okay. Yeah, Confederates again, so we'll do that, and we will entrench them. So they are in a abatis, which gives them a modifier of 1.5. And, well, we might as well bump them up again. Alright. Alright. So, here we go. Okay, Union. So the Union will activate Logan's stacks. So first thing you do is you bump them all up. And then we'll roll for command. So we want to see a low number if you're rooting for the Union. So we get a 1. So that means up to 5 units can attack. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to try a grand assault. And for our grand assault, we are going to do a roll looking at McPherson's command rating. So McPherson's command rating is 4. So again, we want to see a low number here. So let's see what we get. 6. So it will just be Logan's Hex attacking. So we have 21, and they have 18, 19. So it's a 1-to-1. So 1-to-1. 1-to-1 is a 0 modifier. So then we have a +1 for the assault. Okay. And we have 5 artillery attacking against 9 defending. So again, that's going to be a -2. So -1. And then with the creek, we'll be at -1. So it's a total -2 attack because Hood cancels out our tactical. You see, he has 2 values. The top number is offensive tactical and bottom number is defensive tactical. So it is -2. So again, USA CSA. And that is a -2 to the Confederates. So the Confederates have 7. And that will fatigue this one. And for the Union, 16, 21 is 3D. So these guys are disorganized. And we lose 3 manpower. Okay. So now it is up to Dodge and Company. So, all right, Confederates win, Confederates pass, so it's the Union. So Dodge will activate Sweeney and Veach for an assault, and we will roll our assault value. So again, we get a 1, so the assault goes off. So this time we're looking at 16 against 19. So that is going to be a 1-to-2. So basically, everything else is going to be the same. So we're looking at an attack of -3. So again, CSA, USA. So they outrolled the CSA, but not enough. That's going to be another -2. And our combat value was 16. And with a combat value of 16, that is a 2D. And we need that +2 result to get a retreat. So, once again, Resaca has held. So maybe just maybe, McPherson was right. Maybe he was right. But you can see how this attempt was much different than the last attempt. We got everyone into position. We got to line up some attacks, but then Hood showed up, and we also got this extra unit. And let's see, I don't know if we would have gotten to +2 if Hood hadn't shown up, but it certainly didn't help. That's for sure. So this has been Mike with Play More Games, and like I said, we'll be back with some more great campaigns of the American Civil War action soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave any comments, anything I might have missed. Do you have a reliable way of taking Resaca, or do you get washed out as well? We didn't talk much about flanks, but because we can only fill out 2 of the hexes, we can't really get off a flanking attack. So, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.